The question is that the motion be agreed to, and I call the member for Hughes.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Mr Deputy Speaker, I rise to support the motion currently before this House that will provide workers with 10 days of paid leave to deal with the impacts of family and domestic violence, including for our casual workers. This parliament does need to move quickly to address the scourge that is domestic and family violence within our country, and as I've held women's roundtables and met with our local police, it is also a scourge that affects my electorate in Hughes. To that end, I support this motion, and I support the legislation. We need to acknowledge that the former coalition government in December 2018 did pass legislation that enshrined 5 days unpaid family and domestic violence leave into the Fair Work Act's national employment standards. This motion is supported as it will provide many other Australian workers with 10 days paid leave. Most of the victims of domestic violence in our country are women, often women with children. It is almost impossible for women with children impacted by violence within their own home to move with. They need some financial support at the beginning to be able to move out of the circle that is domestic violence. This legislation will support our victims, some of our victims, to be able to start to make that move. I would like to acknowledge that the Coalition did, over a period of 9 years, invest over $2 billion in women's safety, including a record $1.1 billion to respond to violence against women in the last budget. However, clearly there has not been enough done, and this legislation will assist some of our more vulnerable victims to be able to start to move out from a violent situation. And this is said in the context where I've met with women's groups, local lawyers, the local police. Women should not be penalised further financially, often with the threat of losing their job because they are seeking to move themselves and or their children away from a violent home life. This legislation, the entitlement to paid family violence or domestic violence leave, would see the entitlement enshrined in national employment standards, which covers up to 11 million employees. This is a good step forward and is based on the initial work done by the former coalition government. And Mr Speaker, as a parliament, we need to demonstrate that we have a zero tolerance for family violence and recognise that there's a need for specialised legal and other joined-up services for those dealing with family separation, divorce and family violence. Family separation and divorce are two of the most difficult events that people will encounter in their lives, and it's also a time when family violence can escalate and place victims at increased risk of harm. If we can provide those victims with an opportunity to take some leave, paid leave, at a time when it's desperately needed, this will be the first step for many of our victims to be able to move out of the scourge that is family and domestic violence within their own homes. Women experiencing domestic violence should never have to choose between their safety and their wages. They'll often need that first step to be able to escape from that violence, and, Mr Deputy Speaker, I commend this motion on the basis that this will assist those victims. Thank you.